The outbreak of listeria from cantaloupe has been big news in recent weeks. Nearly 300,000 cases of the fruit from Jensen Farms out of Colorado has been recalled throughout the country. The question is, what is listeria? What about some other bacteria that we should be on the lookout for? And probably most importantly, what can we do to prevent foodborne illnesses like listeria? Family practitioner and founder of the website yes5.net, Dr. Karen Latimer is here now to break it all down for us. Karen, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so what are the most common types of bacteria that we can get from our food?
There are so many. The most common are probably E. coli, Salmonella, Shigella. Hepatitis A is actually a foodborne illness.
Really?
But their list is probably 100 different bacteria that are common and people don't even really know about.
And we most commonly hear about E. coli, Salmonella, and listeria are probably the big three, right?
Well, listeria probably isn't as common, nearly as common as the other two, but because it is so much more dangerous and harmful, it gets a lot of press when we do have an outbreak, as it should.
And so what are the symptoms?
The symptoms of listeria are a little different than the symptoms of other foodborne illnesses in that it'll start the same. You'll have the diarrhea, the fever, the chills, the general flu-like symptoms, muscle cramping, and things like that. But it can often move on and get into your neurological system, causing encephalitis, meningitis, which would manifest as seizures, confusion, lack of coordination, severe headache, stiff neck, more neurologic signs.
So the symptoms become pretty dramatic.
They do.
A lot different than E. coli or Salmonella.
That's correct.
What would those symptoms look like?
E. coli would be more of what you think of as a regular food poisoning that people get and usually don't even see their doctor. You know, people say, I think I just ate something funny. Their stomach doesn't feel well. They have the abdominal cramping, some nausea, usually diarrhea, and often doesn't progress to anything more serious than that. Although E. coli can ultimately cause anemia, kidney failure, and more serious things, it usually doesn't. Unlike listeria, which has a much higher potential for becoming more dangerous.
And any way we can detect to see if our food is contaminated with listeria, E. coli, Salmonella, anything?
No, there really isn't any way. You can do things to prevent or to kill the bacteria or to wash it off, but really there's nothing that you can do. The food doesn't look different, it doesn't smell different, it doesn't really taste different, so there's nothing that you can do from that standpoint to protect yourself.
Okay, but washing, I'm assuming, thoroughly.
Yes. And
also, the thing is that, if something like this, like the cantaloupe recall, happened in Colorado, but it affected so many states throughout the country.
They shipped out so many. I mean, you just mentioned 300,000 cases. There were outbreaks in, I think, 19 states at last count.
And what about farmers market? If we're going to buy something a little bit closer to home, because a lot of people are trying to do that now as far as supporting the local communities, still be on the lookout for these kinds of concerns?
Yeah, don't, be lulled into a false sense of safety with the farmers market. You still want to take the same precaution. The same bacteria that are in the soil, at a major producer, major farm, are going to be possibly in the soil and in the, farm animals at a smaller farm. So you always have to be careful.
We were talking about this earlier about Salmonella being like a major thing whenever we're cooking chicken, because
I'm crazy.
I do the exact same thing, because it's just you get so paranoid about the fact that you almost look at it and think it automatically has Salmonella. There's something wrong with that. But also cleaning the utensils, cleaning up your counter space, all of those types of things. This was like a standard household cleaner.
Cleaners with bleach will probably do a little bit of a better job, but very hot, soapy, antibacterial soap and water often do the trick as long as you clean thoroughly. But you want to keep things separate. The produce, we talked about the chicken, but most important to keep the things that the raw chicken touches separate from your produce. And really, it's important to be mindful, and it's good that you are, because it's very easy to go from one thing to the next, or to grab the breadcrumbs and pour them onto the plate before you touch the chicken again. But you really want to avoid doing that.
You have to be a little compulsive about this. Slightly neurotic,
so I'm going to
right?
say yes. I mean, if you don't want to get sick.
Also, eating your perishables right away. Why is something like that? Because the bacteria can actually grow and develop.
Well, especially with listeria. Again, unlike the other ones, it can grow and multiply in your refrigerator.
Okay.
So in addition to washing your produce, and maybe wash them even before you put them away into the refrigerator, you want to wash them before you eat them, and eat them sooner rather than later, because of that exact reason that it can be, multiplying the bacteria can be growing inside your refrigerator.
Very quickly, what about your fridge or freezer temperatures? Can that have any kind of an effect?
Absolutely. You want to keep your freezer below 0 degrees. You want to keep your refrigerator below 40 degrees.
All right.
And you want to heat your foods to 160.
All right. Good numbers to know. Hopefully prevent these kinds of illnesses.
Hopefully.
Dr. Latimer, thank you so much. Great information.
You're welcome.